I have title of my message, as you see on the screen, Purpose in Every Step. And in my mind, this is really essential in the day and age in which we live. No doubt it's essential in every time in history for individuals, but especially in this day when we face not just calamity that comes on us personally in our personal lives, but we see the huge calamity coming upon the nation. A calamity that we never thought we would see. A calamity that is shaking foundations of our republic and shaking foundations of our lives. Ezekiel 37 refers to this period of time as a period of dry bones. And Ezekiel, as you recall, is taken to this valley and sees all these dry bones. And God tells him to prophesy to these bones. And he tells Ezekiel, he said, not only are these bones dry, but he says they're very dry. And the bones are speaking. They say, our hope is gone. Our hope is gone. And there's a lot of people in this nation today who I feel are of the opinion that our hope is gone. They watch the news. I know there's some people that just think, well, it's going to get better next year. We'll get up maybe different people in Congress or different president or whatever. They think everything will be okay, but it's not that simple. And because we have been looking for new congressmen and new senators and new presidents for years, and we get new presidents, we get new congressmen, we get new senators, and the calamity still increases. So we are in this valley of dry bones. A lot of people, I have the opinion, maybe I'm wrong, are feeling as if there's no hope. And it then falls upon those people that God has called. And it's called to be, in a metaphorical term, to be a lighthouse. You know, there's that song by Ronnie Hinson called Thank God for the Lighthouse. I believe is the title. The lighthouse in the harbor. And if it wasn't for the lighthouse, where would this ship be, the song says. And we have a responsibility, even though I know there are people within our circle of friends who don't feel the responsibility, but in my mind, and part of my ministry has always been that impress on people's minds that you have a responsibility. And it's not a matter of saying, okay, I've got the truth, I've got the knowledge, I know what's happening, I don't necessarily feel good about it, but at least I know that I'm aware of it. And yet don't feel any burden to warn the nation, as Ezekiel was called to do, to warn the nation. Recall, I mentioned before that Ezekiel was told that to send a warning to the nation, and he said they may listen, they may not listen, but it doesn't change anything. You still have a responsibility. So we have a responsibility to be the lighthouse, to the dry bones. Now I would like you to turn over to 1 Corinthians 9:24. Paul writes, don't you realize that in a race everyone runs, but only one person gets the prize? So run to win. Now somebody might say, listen, if you're talking about the Christian faith, is he saying only one Christian wins? I mean, somebody might mockingly say, well, he said only one person wins. But the race that Paul is talking about here isn't a race against other people. It's a race against yourself. Because in ourselves, we all have this. You'll hear about the good angel and the bad angel. The good angel says, when the bad angel tries to tempt you. We all have a good angel and bad angel, so to speak, that tempts us to not run the race. And so we have to run the race to win, and we're running against our own desires to not compete. So he said, run to win. All athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize that will fade away. We all know the trophy is going to get old, dusty, and eventually you can buy it at a yard sale. But he said, but we do it for an eternal prize. So Paul writes, I run with purpose in my step, in every step. I am not just shadow boxing. I'm not just hitting air. He said, I discipline my life. I discipline my body like an athlete, bringing it under complete control. Paul wants to win the race. He's committed to winning the race. And he's telling us if we want to win this race, both in our own lives, because we all want to, we are competing against that sinful nature that will slow us down. So that's one area that we want to win. Then when we also look at all these dry bones, we want to win for them. We want to compete so they can win also. So Paul says he wants to win the race. And in doing so, he's going to discipline his body like an athlete and bring it under complete control. Now, over the foyer, or in the foyer of our church, over the door, I know you've all seen it. We have 4 words. I'm not going to ask you if you remember or you know what the 4 words are. You all have seen them. Loyalty, honor, courage, and duty. Those are the things we need if we want to win the race. We need to understand the concept of loyalty. We need to understand the concept of honor. We need to understand what courage means. And we need to understand this idea of duty. It's a duty we have. It's not like any soldier. Apostle Paul talks about being a soldier. And we're soldiers, and we have a duty to perform. And these concepts are important. They're important if we want to win the race. And we want to be an overcomer. It's very important. And so, he says that all those things are concise in that one phrase. He says that, but we do it for eternal prize, so I run with purpose in every step. Every single step we take should be directed toward that one objective. Now, Timothy, it says in Timothy, 2 Timothy 2:21, therefore everyone who cleanses himself will be a vessel of honor, sanctified and useful for the master, prepared for every good work. A vessel of honor. What does it take to be that overcomer, to win that race, to have purpose in every step? He said, cleanse yourself. And he says, sanctify yourself and prepare. Cleanse, sanctify, and repair. And I know those are, and we speak to people on the internet. We have a great number of people listening to us on the internet. And so sometimes people are attracted to this ministry from a non-religious point of view. They're just really people that are concerned about what's happening to our nation. And they hear those and think, well, that sounds like religion. And it is religious. It is righteousness is a religious concept, you understand. But those are concepts that are needed in every soldier, in every battlefield, if you want to win the war. Everybody needs that. You want to be loyal to your comrades. You want to have, you want to be sanctified and dedicated, and you want to be a useful soldier in the battle. So those are very political terms, very military terms also. And he says that we need to have that sanctification, and we need that cleansing, and we need to be prepared. He says this is serious. Apostle Paul said this is serious stuff. And he says that if you're going to be an overcomer, if you're going to overcome, if you're going to be successful in overcoming your nature that will slow you down in being a useful tool to send a warning, a white Christian revival to the nation, then he says, to be an overcomer, you have to cleanse yourself. To be an overcomer, you have to sanctify yourself. And to be an overcomer, you have to be prepared. And so this is something that he says is important. Every step is important. Every step is important to win the prize. Now, he says that to be this overcomer, you have to, what? Discipline yourself, he said. And you have to have complete control of yourself. He says, bring it under your body, bring it under complete discipline and complete control. He said that in the opening passage we read. It's easy because you're running this race, and it's not just a race against the opposition out here. It's a race against ourselves. Because part of ourselves says it's easier being a couch potato. Part of ourselves saying we just don't want to step up and do the extra work that may be necessary. We may be concerned what people may say. We may be concerned that it's just too much effort. Whatever it challenges that in people's mind, there is that challenge, but there's that opposition within ourselves that says, just be a couch potato. It's not necessary. God has it all under control. And I don't want to offend anybody here, but you know, that's the Calvinist kind of idea, that you just don't have to be too involved in world affairs because God has it all under control. It's better to be a couch potato than be actively running. And he says, we have to do those things to move forward. He says that we have to develop good works and take care of spiritual needs and protect ourselves and our family. And he said the physical needs, of course, we have those responsibilities of food and clothing and shelter. And we have emotional needs of love and encouragement and time with our family. All those things have to be brought together in preparing ourselves. Because likewise, I've seen people who have, in their mind, was so dedicated to promoting the cause that they neglected their family. And they neglected themselves. And they've lost their children because mom and dad didn't have time for the kids. They're too busy out there chasing the elusive dream of reaching people. So it's a noble venture, but we have to be balanced. We have to be balanced with our commitment to the cause and commitment to our families also. And I'm amazed, and I'm sure you are also, by people who take life so carelessly. We see people who are on drugs. We see people who are commit crime, cheat on their spouses, and we see politicians and preachers and others in our community and they lose respect. People lose respect for them because they just don't take their lives seriously. They don't understand the powerful influence they have on their families and on the people they meet every day on the streets. Now, we are engaged, and all of us here are aware of this, we are engaged in a great struggle for the survival of our people. We see this genocide coming upon us from every corner. A lot of people are totally out of one out of every 6 people you see on the street is an illegal alien. One of every 6. They estimate somewhere around 49 million illegal aliens in the country now. We're only about 3.5, only I shouldn't say, but 350 million. One of every 6 people is an illegal alien. That doesn't even count the legal aliens. Because not only do we have the illegal aliens, we got brought in millions of legal aliens into our country. And then we've got many of our people have forfeited their whiteness, you might say, by bringing in non-white members people into the family. And they have embraced them. Of course, you can't control what somebody does in your family. But you don't need to, like Rachel said here when she spoke last week, you don't need to embrace them. You don't need to embrace them. And yet they do. And so we have this terrible, terrible, heavy-handed oppression upon our people. And it takes men and women who are going to have a purpose in every step. Men and women who are committed, men and women who understand and are willing to do what is necessary to reach a lost generation. God is calling for men and women of character, men and women who have cleansed and disciplined and committed to white Christian revival. Paul says, purpose in every step. Every step. We're in this race. Every step is important. And but unfortunately, so often that goes over people's heads. We're in a race to be an overcomer, to overcome our weakness, to be a witness for righteousness, to combat the satanic rebellion. We're in a race to be a good soldier, to walk carefully, to overcome our own desires or weaknesses that we all have. So we look at this concept of being an overcomer. Paul said we're running. You're running a race. But so many Christians, I'm afraid, are not running. Too many people, even with our own movement, I want to use that phrase, I'm not sure I even like that word, but people who are concerned, they're not running. I don't know, that's a metaphor, for dedication. They embrace a certain amount of fatalism. They more or less the idea, the idea of being evangelistic is contrary to their teaching. They say, it's not necessary. It's not necessary. God's going to decide. Who am I? And they act as if you attempt to do something or warn people or witness to them, that you're stepping upon the sovereignty of God. It's all in the will of God, they tell you. But Paul says to run. He said, discipline yourself. He said, overcome your weaknesses. He tells Ezekiel, tell the people. Elijah told them, choose you this day who you will serve. Book of Joel said, blow the trumpet in Zion. It says, sound the alarm in his holy mountain. Isaiah said, cry aloud, spare not. Lift up your voice like a trumpet. Jesus said, go into all the world. Be a light to the world. All those things, what we're told to do. And yet so many people don't feel it's important, it's necessary. Long as they say, me and mine are taken care of, that's all I care about. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. If you're only concerned about yours, what's with yours, mine, as they say. Me and mine. Jesus said, feed my sheep. Paul said to have a purpose in every step. Paul says to run. Not walk. Not a little stroll. Paul says run. In other words, as Christians, we have to do something. I have conversations occasionally with people who don't feel it's not necessary. Again, they act, if you try to do something, you're taking away God's sovereignty. Well, you can't take away God's sovereignty. It's foolish to even suggest that. We have a commitment to be a lighthouse. And a light, as I've mentioned many times in the past, a light is not passive. We think of a light being passive. Light is not passive. Light is very aggressive. Light is an aggressive action. You don't go into a room and turn on darkness. You turn on light. Light is aggressive. You don't walk out of the room and turn off darkness. You can turn off the light, but you don't turn off darkness. Our nation is in this deplorable condition today, not because darkness has grown. I know we all talk about, oh, evil is getting out of control, evil is growing, all this, Satan is doing this, and Satan is working overtime, and all that. It's not that. Darkness has no power. We're in this deplorable condition because we're turning off the light. We turned off the light in this country. And God is looking for people who will turn the light on. And yet, it's so hard for people to understand that. Paul said, have a purpose in every step. We've been called by God to do something. Everything is different. I understand that. I've explained this before. Everything is different. That's why Paul talks about the members of the body of the church. Everybody has a different responsibility. Not everybody's a preacher. Not everybody does the same thing. But every part is important. Every part is important. Every single thing. Come here and bring cakes and donuts in the morning on Sunday morning. That's important. It's important. It's doing something to make the church work together as a whole to accomplish this objective. You would take every step with purpose, discipline, complete control. So I've suggested before, and I'll say it again, sometimes stop. You come into the church, look at those: loyalty, honor, courage, and duty. Look at those. Those are words, but behind each of those words is some deep meaning. Some deep meaning: loyalty, honor, courage, duty. There's meaning there. Sometimes look at those words and just apply those words and see how you measure up. And do they help you to have purpose in every step? The children around you, not just your children, but the children around you. I mean, they're watching you. All these children around here, they're watching you. They're watching everyone. They may not be your children, but they're watching you anyway. They're seeing what kind of person you are. What is your purpose? What is the purpose you're conveying to those children? Why are they here? Are they just here to come to church and sing a song and go back home? We in our family, and others too, I'm not just picking us, but we always emphasize our children had a purpose. There's a reason. We try to convey that to our grandchildren. You have a purpose. You cannot slough it off, even if you try. You have a purpose. Purpose in every step. And there's a big difference in running a race and running a race to win. Lots of people run races. But there's some people that do just the extra thing to win. And Paul says, take every step with purpose. I know older people understand this. My mother used to say this to me when I was years back, and now I'm beginning to understand. As you get older, you're more careful of every step you take. You're just more careful. Because you realize every step is important. Paul says, run the race with purpose. Be an overcomer. Have faith and loyalty and honor and courage. It's like I mentioned before, you have a tool in your toolbox. You can have a rusty tool, rusty pliers. You have a nice new pair of pliers. And which tool do you want to use? You're going to use the new one, the clean one, the one that is ready to be used, not the rusty pliers. The rusty pliers, if it could talk, it might be saying, pick me, pick me. And you look at the rusty pliers, you say, well, I'm going to pick this one over here. And there's a lot of people, they claim they want to be used of God. I met people, they want to be used by, they really want God to use them in some capacity. But they have not taken a purpose at every step. They have not made themselves usable. When a man runs a race, Nobody says you can wear big, heavy boots if you want to, but you're not going to win the race with wearing big, heavy boots. You can win big old, cover up big, heavy coats and stuff. You can weigh yourself down. You're not going to win the race. You win the race by getting rid of everything that's going to slow you down. If we want to win this race, not just for ourselves, but for our nation, everything that can slow us down needs to be removed. So he says, run the race with purpose. Every step is important. It's not in church ritual. It's not in holidays. It's not in any of those things. None of those things impute righteousness. It's in refining your spirit. Refining your spirit under the power of Jesus Christ. Be an overcomer. An overcomer needs wisdom. I know that I have known people over the years. You have too. You can teach them knowledge. You can teach them knowledge, how to do something. You can teach them knowledge. But I've never met a person that I could teach wisdom to. I've met a lot of people I could teach knowledge. But I can't teach wisdom. And wisdom doesn't come from books. Wisdom comes from inside. And wisdom comes from people that are in touch with God. Wisdom comes from people who understand the relationship. There are the people I can't teach wisdom to. So we're told to be overcomers, have purpose every step. We're told about the fruits of the Spirit that helps us refine ourselves to be that vessel of honor. We read in Galatians, what are they? Love and joy and peace, long-suffering and goodness and gentleness, faith, meekness, and self-control. Those are the things we'd be striving for. Too many people are striving. There was a man who, there was a fellow a number of years ago made a considerable large contribution to this church. And when he made a contribution, he said, I never asked God for money. I only asked God to give me wisdom. And with that wisdom, I made money. It makes sense. It makes sense. Too often we discount the importance of real wisdom. So we're called to have a life of purpose, not a life of compromise. Revelation says, I know thy works, and I would know that you're neither cold nor hot, and I wish you were, but you're neither, so I'm going to vomit you out of my mouth. He said, because you say you're rich and increase with goods and have need of nothing. And he's telling the church today, don't you know that you're wretched and you're miserable and you're poor and you're blind and you're naked. We want to be overcomers. I think all of us here want to be an overcomer. We want to have some real power, not just in our lives, but some real power. And I don't mean in a controlling manner, but a power of influence over people we come in contact with. We want to have that. And yet we have this battle we fight among ourselves, that bad angel, this race we're running, that we're competing with, that opposition of our nature. And that wants us to compromise. Wanting us to compromise is telling us things aren't really that important. But it's only the righteous that compromises. The wicked don't compromise. The wicked have already been compromised. It's the righteous that have to be careful that they are not compromised. Because he told us, I'm going to close very quickly. He told us, you are the salt of the earth. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt has lost its savor, how is it going to be made salty? The salt is no good. It's not good for anything. You might as well throw it down on the ground and let man trample it under feet. The salt is of no value. But he's telling us we're the salt of the earth. But if we don't cleanse ourselves, we don't be sanctified, if we don't prepare ourselves, we don't take caution and purpose in every step, then our saltiness is gone. And too many Christians have lost their saltiness. Too many Christians are not salty anymore. They're useless. There's no purpose in every step. So, to be an overcomer, and I close with this, to be an overcomer, they're going to receive what the Bible says is that crown of life. We have to have purpose in every step. That purpose has got to be a disciplined and self-controlled mind and body. It has to pursue righteousness, and it has to pursue loyalty, it has to pursue honor, courage, and duty. And it needs all those things. But all those things are of no value, Paul says, unless you run the race to win. With loyalty, courage, honor, and duty, and with a purpose in every step. Let's pray. Our Father, we ask your mercy upon each and every person here. Touch our lives. Touch our minds. Touch our lips and our ears. And help us to understand that we are a tool that you can use to reach out to the dry bones of our nation. Those people who are lost, who, as the Bible says, men's hearts filling them with fear for the thing coming upon the nation. Our nation is lost. Our nation needs a lighthouse. Help us to be a lighthouse. Help us to run the race. We ask in your name.
That is just the reason I tell it now to thee. I love to tell the story. 'Tis pleasant to repeat what seems each time I tell it more wonderful and sweet. I love to tell the story, for some have never heard the message of salvation from God's own holy word. I love to tell the story. 'Twill be my theme and glory to tell the old story of Jesus and his love. I love to tell the story for those who know it best, seem hungering and thirsty to hear it like the rest. And when in scenes of glory I sing the new song, 'twill be the old story that I have loved so long. I love to tell the story. 'Twill be my theme and glory to tell the old story of Jesus and his love. I love to